Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Richard Listens on Sports, live here from UBN Radio TV, Universal Broadcasting Network, at the beautiful Sunset Gower Studios in beautiful, wonderful Hollywood, California, where it's about 98 degrees today. I'm the host of your show, Peter Sobey, and without a lot of my yik-yakking, I'm going to introduce the man of the hour, psychologist extraordinaire, Dr. Richard Olberger. He of Richard Listens. He's a psychologist. He listens. Richard Listens. Dr. Richard, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You said that so beautifully and eloquently.
Well, thank you.
The pressure. You're rising under pressure here.
Right, yes. So for those of you tuned in already, we really appreciate you hanging in there. I know it's 8:07 p.m. We started a little bit late today, but thanks for hanging in there. We promise we will make it worth your wait.
Don't pull a Miguel Montero now. Don't throw someone under the bus.
No doubt.
You know what happens.
There's no one thrown under the bus. I'm just thanking our audience for being patient. But
I like that.
Miguel
like
Montero, that's a whole nother topic, right?
That's what happens when you don't stick with the team mentality.
Totally, yeah. I also wonder if he was one of the people that Dr. Ken was kind of like pointing out when we had our day with Dr. Ken, the Cubs team consultant of team psychology.
That's what happens when you get trained behind the veil now. You're forced to guess. Who was he really referring to as maybe being sent down to the minors?
Right, and we figured that one out.
We
Obviously,
did. We did.
Well, it had to have been Kyle Schwarber because, he said there was a player that wasn't performing well that you would never believe would get sent to the minors, but it's being considered, and Dr. Ken was waiting for this player to come and talk to him, and he wouldn't. And Kyle Schwarber, a week later, got sent to the minors.
Part of growing experiences. Still young.
Yeah, totally. And ironically, we'll get to it in a moment, but speaking of the day we spent with Dr. Ken Ravizza, our guest today is someone we met at that very day. So that's going to be very exciting.
You see how I left that carrot segue?
Totally.
Is that such a thing? Can I coin that?
Yeah, you can coin that, the carrot segue. We like to talk about segues a lot on this show, because I really pride myself in segues that don't make sense and then saying that was a bad segue. So, but that was a good segue, Dr. Richard. And see, so I could make your good segue a bad segue. That would be the perfect time to introduce the guest. But we'll hold off just another minute. She's waiting patiently right here in the studio. So if you are watching us on Facebook Live on the Richard Listens page, be sure to check in, leave your comments and questions, and we will definitely try and get to it here live on the show. I see that Jewel Hargrove is already checked in. She's a extraordinary marketing person.
Extraordinary.
Does social media and marketing, and we love her. Welcome to watching the show, Jewel. And if you're looking for someone to do some marketing out there, Jewel's great. And there's a lot of other eyeballs, but right now that's the only one I see on my screen. But, if I don't mention you or I don't get your question or comment, sometimes the internet runs a bit slow. So if I don't see you, don't think I'm excluding you. I just didn't see your name or your question.
Yeah.
But don't hesitate to leave it nonetheless. So, Richard, really quick before we get to our guest, you were an alternate, and there was a chance you would have been in Israel right now, but you're here, which we're really happy about. But what's happening over in Israel right now?
Well, I don't know much about what's happening with the team. I did hear they lost, unfortunately, yesterday by 1 point to the team from Russia. So I don't know if we're in the pre-medal round or where we're at right now. So I'm trying to get my pieces of information where I can and still support the team from afar. We're pulling for them, but we know, there's serious athletes around the globe, so it's hard not to be, happy for whoever wins and all the effort they've put in, and still honored that they had me as part of the consideration for the team, and we'll look for the next tryout again.
No doubt.
Staying ready.
because that was a pretty great following on that journey earlier in the year when you hit Kansas City for the tryouts and all of that very exciting stuff. So
Yeah, in fact, that phone call I just got from the show is from one of the other members of the team. So,
oh wow, okay.
So the connection continues. Hashtag ball is life.
And speaking of phone calls, you got a phone call also before the show with a great quote promotion.
Great compliment.
To our friend, Chris Johnson.
That's right, Coach Chris Johnson, one of our most popular shows on YouTube. Gave me the compliment of saying that I mentor players, but I coach coaches. So I hope to live up to that, Coach.
It's amazing. And speaking of good segues, actually that is a good segue because I won't talk about all of our future guests right now, but a couple shows ago we had, or actually our last show, we had Chris Stretch, a peak performance coach. And in the future, probably come September or so, we are planning on having Chris back on the show. And the show is going to be all about coaching youth coaches. So that's going to be a really fun show.
And I love it. I love from Chris's, mode of being that he had a couple thoughts that really inspired him on his whole journey in terms of passion. And one of them was, I have to help people like me. And so I just think that's so relevant, for working with youth, that a lot of people are stuck and don't know what to do or how to move forward. Not sure where their passion lies. They're caught in some jobs that pay the bills but don't love. So, helping somebody who could be struggling with anything similar to what you went through, or to avoid or make better decisions than you did. It's great to see Chris doing what he's doing.
And we'll give you more details as that show comes closer, but I actually want to approach you and Chris about maybe we could put together a seminar before or right after that show with you guys leading a seminar coaching coaches. What do you think?
I love how that was the drop bomb segue.
Yeah. Sounds like fun though, right?
Every time you've done that to me, it's worked out well. So,
Excellent. Talking about working out well, Dr. Richard, at the Dr. Ken Ravizza Day, it worked out really well that we met a pretty extraordinary human being. She's a psychologist. She's the guest on our show tonight. I am going to leave a lot of the lengthy introduction for once we get her on the air here, but I just want to let you know that coming up in about 5 minutes after we introduce our esteemed guests here in the studio tonight, that our new feature that we debuted at our last show, Fitness Wellness with Coach KitCait, will be coming up live from Mexico City via Zoom in just about 5 minutes. But first, it is my true pleasure to introduce our in-studio guest tonight, Dr. Pernilla Nathan. Welcome to Richard Listens on Sports, Pernilla.
Thanks.
And now I introduce you as, Dr. Pernilla Nathan. You're a psychologist, but the focus that you are here to focus on tonight is your transition into what we will now call Equestrian Sports Consulting.
Yes.
That's a really interesting title.
I'm still playing around with it, trying to figure out what exactly I want to coin it, because there's no pathway and no one really in front of me that's done something like this. So, yeah.
And speaking of the Dr. Ken Ravizza Day where we all met, you kind of posed a question for Dr. Ken, who's one of the forefathers of sports psychology.
I did. And
what was the response, or what was that question? How did that go down again?
Oh, gosh, Peter, you're really putting me on the spot, and I just sat down.
The long and short of it is he kind of couldn't answer you, right?
Right. I just asked because he had experience working with the Olympian equestrian team back in the 80s, and I had asked if he had worked kind of with the relationship between rider and horse, and he couldn't really answer my question. Although he's this amazing, amazing sports consultant, and I revere him. So,
right.
And in defense of anyone who's entering this field, and we're going to stumble upon areas we don't know, even if you have expertise, and there's so little we understand about animals, even if we're experts in working with humans. So to have the knowledge you have and the experience, Dr. Pernilla, is rare and unique, and I hope that does set you apart.
Yeah, thank you.
And before we get to our fitness wellness with Coach KitCait, a little bit about your journey, because then I really want to delve deep into the equestrian topic.
Okay.
But give us a little bit, because, I think you're a pretty inspiring person, Pernilla. So give us a little bit about your background and what made you decide to kind of take this really left turn in your life and your profession.
Well, where do I start? Horses have always been my dream, and kind of in the family dynamic, horses were considered this afterthought, kind of this, money pit, because they do cost a lot of money and a lot of resources and time. And then I went on to get my doctorate and did a lot of work with trauma, which I enjoyed, but it got to the point where I was kind of taking on, I think, a lot of that energy and became really burnt out and and in that burnout, I had to do my own healing with different modalities. And I saw a new perspective of psychology and the mind. And in that time, actually, I went back to horses. This is why I'm trying to get Peter on a horse.
Yes.
I went back and got on horses and just started seeing how my own traumas, my life experiences were impacting my sport and my skill set. Like, there were moments where I would regress, and then there was moments I would excel, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, and my trainers just didn't have the language. And then over time, I just saw this niche, and I got really excited about it, and some of my closest friends became partly my guinea pigs. So they were great in being patient with me, and then over time, I just realized life is too short. You need to take your dreams and make them a reality. And even though I don't necessarily know how this is going to pan out exactly, I have ideas. I'm going to do it. I've started a little bit dabbling in it, trying to figure out what techniques work for me, what techniques work for other people, how I want to disseminate the information, and also the just cultural experience of being in the horse world. It's not just a sport, like I mentioned on my Instagram page. It's also a lifestyle, and it's a sport where you have to work with another living being that doesn't speak the same language. And so,
And people will be biting at the bit now to look at your Instagram page. We'll say it again later, but what is your Instagram page, Pernilla?
Pernilla Nathan.
All right. At
easy.
Pernilla Nathan, PernillaNathan.
Yes.
A good thing about your name, Pernilla, is if we have some rappers out there who have been looking for that word to rhyme with vanilla, now they got it.
Vanilla ice. Ice, baby.
Yeah.
That was really bad. I'm so
So
sorry.
But talking about segues, yeah. Those are both bad segues. Me bringing up rap and you taking it to Vanilla Ice. From there.
Was he an athlete, Vanilla Ice? How can we bring it back?
Yes. But, vanilla is a hard word. Well, there's Godzilla, but no, it doesn't really. Pernilla vanilla. So, yeah, now they got it, So if they want to talk about vanilla ice cream and then, I knew a girl named Pernilla.
Oh, boy.
Thank me later, rappers of the
Richard.
world. Even our amazing engineer, Jarvis Essex, got a chuckle out of that.
What is the root of the name? We have to ask now.
It's Scandinavian. My mom is Swedish, and it's actually common, just like Anne, Helen, Rachel. So, yeah.
See?
Wow.
Open our eyes a little bit here.
No doubt. Speaking of opening our eyes, let's take a little break for a new feature here on Richard Listens on Sports. We have an amazing fitness coach, an amazing human being. She's a pageant coach. She's a fitness coach, a lifestyle coach. She's an actress. She's a model, all kinds of stuff. But here on this show, she is doing a segment called Fitness Wellness with Coach KitCait. And she is coming to us via Zoom, live from Mexico City. So I'd like to welcome Kaitlyn Patricia Weiler to the show. Hi, Kaitlyn.
How are you?
So, Kaitlyn, I know that obviously I know you well and all of that. Did I get all of your hyphenates right?
I think so.
That's a lot of stuff. But right now, you're really hitting up the scene with the acting and modeling and fitness coaching and pageant coaching there in Mexico City, right?
Yes, doing it all. I'm trying to manage both it here in this country and in the United States.
That's a lot.
Yes, but no, I'm so happy to be on the show and to give some more tips and talk and continue to, help people and inspire people just like you've done since the day I met you, Peter.
Oh, shucks.
Wow. I actually believe that part. The other part, I think you're waiting to get in bed and take care of yourself.
Yes, by the way, Richard, how is that deadlift coming?
Wow. I haven't tried it again. You got to quit while you're ahead. No, this week I was doing.
I do agree. You need some rest days before you go at it again, but I'm looking forward to hearing some increased numbers.
Wow. Yes, I shall. But if you followed my Instagram, I did outdoor sports like hiking in 100-degree heat and dodgeball on trampolines this week.
Like I said, Mexico City's freezing and it's raining, so I'm actually jealous of that. I'm dying to go on a hike or something of that sort.
Or ride a horse.
Yes.
Actually, recently I went to a ranch here. My friend rides horses very, very often, so I get to go. They're like Olympic horses. It's amazing.
Oh,
Wow.
And so you are an avid horseback rider, Kaitlyn?
No, I'm not, but she is.
But you've ridden horses.
Yes, of course.
Oh, of course. Yes. So, Kaitlyn, we know you're feeling a little bit under the weather. You're a couple hours ahead of us there in Mexico City.
Yes.
So let's get to it. It's very exciting that we are, honored and happy and grateful to have you as a part of the show. And we definitely look forward to this fitness wellness tip that you are preparing for us every show. So what do you have for us today?
My tip this week is actually very simple. I figured, let me think about what do I do every day, because I think with all of us, once we have our own routine, we kind of forget. We just are in autopilot and we do it. But that's with my style of coaching. I do habit-based coaching. So that's the whole mindset, because in my past, I was always on different diets trying to figure out how am I going to lose weight for this, or how am I going to get my body ready for the next show I'm doing, or how am I going to get stronger and what do I need to do? And it was always a different regimen that I was so tailored to and so focused. And to be honest, it was so not a lifestyle I wanted to live. So I figured out how to make different lifestyle changes. And what I teach is habit-based coaching. So the tip I'm going to share today is a part of that. It was one simple change that I made one day. And then after about a week or two, it just became my routine. And I kind of forget that I do it. And so I thought I would share it with everyone today. And that tip is just every morning when I wake up, first thing I do before anything is I get a glass of water with lemon. That being room temperature water. And if it's cold out, it's actually better to do warm water. And since I've been doing that, I feel like I have more energy. Like I can actually see a difference on the days that I don't do that. Like, for example, when I'm traveling or, for some reason I can't get my water with lemon in the morning. But what it does, it flushes out toxins. Your body's been kind of dormant all night. You've been kind of dehydrated because you've been sleeping. And it also balances the pH levels in your body. So I noticed I had more energy, improved digestion, and lemons are actually very acidic, but when they're in the body, they actually are alkaline. And I know actually in California, the alkaline water is very, well known. Like in Mexico City here, I don't know if many people even know what alkaline water is. I don't know if you can speak to that, if any of you feel like there's a difference between alkaline water and regular water and know anything about that.
Not necessarily, but it is a very interesting aspect. One thing that I would wonder, I think it's a great tip because, of course, myself and so many other people, the first thing that I think of when I wake up is I got to have that cup of coffee,
Well, that's that's right in line there. That's a balance for me. It's coffee, coffee, coffee. But while the coffee is brewing, I have my lemon water.
Jewel would like to know how much lemon, Kaitlyn.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, every time I buy a lemon at the store, I slice it up and just like a wedge of lemon, like you might have at a restaurant, like a good amount so that you're actually tasting and drinking a bit of the pulp in the water, because also at that time in the morning, your body can absorb all those vitamins and minerals you're getting from that lemon. And actually with that lemon, we all know it's high in vitamin C, so you're actually going to improve your immunity as well. So if I'm feeling under the weather like I am tonight too, like I'm adding lemon to my water more throughout the day than just in the morning.
Well, that's a great tip, and I love it because it seems really basic, but I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that. I had no idea. It sounds great.
That's how I was trying to think about it too, because, you know, there's so many things that I do, like I said, now on autopilot, but I thought, well, what was I not doing before when I wasn't living this type of lifestyle? And that was one of the simplest, smallest little changes that I felt has made a difference, like in the stretch of time.
Amazing, Kaitlyn. And we are going to put your contact card up here. Jarvis has it. Let people know how they can reach out to you.
Awesome. Yes, anyone has any questions about fitness, health, wellness, food, anything, reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
And they could find you at?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My personal is Kaitlyn Patricia Weiler and KitCait. And then for my business, it's Kit Body Fitness. And then my website to read a little bit more about me would be KaitlynPatriciaWeiler.com or KitBody.com.
Amazing. Kaitlyn, as always, thank you for providing us an incredible tip. And we hope you feel better and get some rest. And we can't wait to see you again in 2 weeks.
Feel better, Kaitlyn.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your show.
Right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kaitlyn. All right. We are back here in the UBN studios. And don't forget, on Facebook.com/RichardListens, you could leave comments or questions. We got a check-in from Helen Pollock. She loves this.
Do we know her?
Yes, we do.
We do. Oh,
Ah, okay.
Yeah, she's an amazing woman, a good friend, an incredible friend.
And
who's
she loves this.
Yeah, and she's in the horse world too. So
Amazing.
Wow.
yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in, Helen.
And Jewel offered to call in and wrap Vanilla Ice for us, but
Oh, wow.
Really?
we may not have time for that. Sorry, Jewel.
Right. So now, let's get back to the topic of the week, equestrian sports. Now, one thing that I find interesting, Pernilla, is the fact that, on one of the graphics we posted today, I was inspired by what you wrote on Instagram.
Yeah.
And is there like, it's not like, where people say like, oh, golfers, that's not a sport or something like that, but is there some sort of line between people that say like equestrian horseback riding, that's not a sport?
Oh, all the time. People tell us, oh, the horse is doing all the work. You're just sitting there looking pretty. And, literally after our training, I come off exhausted. There's so much communication and nuances that you can't just be sitting there. Even with exceptionally well-trained horses. Horses are picking up energy. I think that's why in equine therapy, even though it's a different modality, horses just pick up energy, human energy, whether you're coming in angry, like they can differentiate, I think, something like 16 different forms of anger and frustration that we don't even have words for.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, and horses are known to do things for different people. So let's say, Peter, I put you on my horse, and you bring in this energy that he just clicks with. He will carry you around and do whatever you ask. And then I take Richard one day, and he's like, yeah, no. Or
No, you just upgraded Peter. He was going to pony before the show. Now he's on the horse. He just slipped that. That was very subtle.
I'm just saying that it's unlike like golf or other sports, which I haven't done too much. I've done classical ballet, but it's a relationship. It's a different experience.
You're like, I haven't done too much classical ballet,
Yeah.
Like that's an easy thing.
But it's your own body.
Right.
You have more control than, there's so many confounds with the equestrian sport than I think, not that there isn't, but with other sports and group sports. It's just, I'm trying to find my words for it.
Yeah, so I think I hear what you're saying. So your technique may have to vary depending on the horse based on how that horse communicates these various languages or interprets your languages.
Absolutely. So.
And that kind of brings up a question, like you mentioned equine therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, what you do is completely different. So like, make it clear to myself and to the audience, give us like a case sample of of who would be a client of yours and how would you work with them?
Okay. So in the sport, whether you're doing dressage or you're doing in a Western barrel racing or hunter jumper, which I do personally, you perform at home. So you're working your training. And then when you go to competition, people will just literally shut down and have panic attacks or severe anxiety. And so skills that they can demonstrate at home exceptionally well, they can't when they go to the show. So they'll, I've worked with someone before and like not so much deep breathing, but changing thought processes. So doing a lot of cognitive work with them. Also telling people to communicate with their horse and letting them know that they're scared or they're not in attunement. Because once you're honest with the horse and not pretending, then you're actually communicating and you're congruent. And the horse knows how you're feeling and where you're at.
So you would be working with equestrian athletes, jockeys, owners, or
owners, predominantly equestrian. So also people fear horses, even though they ride horses, they have a lot of fear. So when horses go to these shows, they act up, they act differently. It's a new environment. There's grass that they're running on, whereas at home they're running on dirt. And there's all this commotion and chaos. So it's another, you're dealing with your own stuff, but you're also dealing with your horse. So they might rear up or they might suddenly stop when they've never stopped before at a jump. And all of that, once that starts happening, it's almost like a spiral effect. And then the person starts maybe taking it personally, or they, or really they're the ones that are communicating to the horse that the horse needs to stop in front of a jump. So it's kind of this dance of trying to figure out what is the culprit, how are you as the rider contributing to the horse's performance, and how's the horse kind of buying into your own anxiety.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, it sounds like it really is no different than working with someone who's playing tennis, baseball, taking what you're practicing and bringing it to competition.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned, Dr. Pernilla, that a trainer, now what would they see and or miss, perhaps, that a sports psychologist can fill the gap here? Because we know this field is growing and important, and we know your role is essential. But so without any, slight to the valuable work that the trainer does, what would happen, let's say, in that instance where they're watching you perform, get up to a jump, and in the practice runs, the horse is stalling, and how might you add to the conversation?
So it's a really good question, because I think a lot of trainers in the equestrian world aren't sure kind of where a sports psychologist would fit and want to ensure that I'm not providing training. So a trainer would probably give skill sets like you need to take a turn and approach the jump this way, or let's go to the warm-up arena and have you jump your horse and school your horse. Whereas I would come in and ask the person, well, what's going on in your brain? What's happening? This has been a pattern at 5 shows now, yet when we go home, you're doing great. You're jumping all your jumps. So what is happening? Maybe it's a parent. We all know there's plenty of parents that are very invested in their children's sport, or it's a partner, or also at certain locations. So recently I actually went back to a location where I had a major back accident and landed in the hospital in the ER with a brace, and I had to stop riding and recover for about a year. I went back to that same horse show, and ironically, in the other arena where I had my accident, literally as I'm getting on my horse to start schooling him and warming him up, there was an ambulance that came because someone else fell off their horse. And it just re-triggered emotional responses and trauma in my body that I consciously and also unconsciously was unaware of. And you're in it, and you have to get your stuff done because you're going to be called up, and you only have so much time before you're called up in the arena for that 15 seconds when you're jumping the course.
Wow, what extraordinary circumstances. Like, Dr. Richard, how would you, if someone like Pernilla came to you with that situation, how would you handle that?
Wow.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's here for, though.
Well, I'm trying to think which is the situation of having the injury, or the situation then being at an event, seeing somebody else have an injury, and you have how much time then?
You just got to get your work done. You don't know, because there's so many, like, you don't know technically when
But those are
you're
the
going.
questions, I'd like to start asking is, right, can we game plan? Like, how much time do we have? Because there has to be a certain, like, the body needs to go through a process. So, what Dr. Pernilla is mentioning is that even though you're aware and you know that you've had this injury in rehab, now there's this trigger and all these fears that were held. Maybe you rehab the body. Maybe you got stronger physically. Maybe you've even developed your relationship with your horse and you're feeling secure again. But now all of a sudden, all this fear, all these memories again, and your body remembers falling. And so, it's going to go into fight or flight mode. It's going to go into protect mode. So, I'd love to, if you're in that instance and you were there, I'd want to take whatever slowing time down means. If you've got 1 hour before you jump, then we may need to take 10 minutes just to address releasing. We have to do some progressive, like just focusing on, addressing, releasing all the tension that's going on, separating that moment from today, and knowing that the horse and your body need you to be present for this moment. And it's okay if afterwards we want to sit down and cry for all that we've been holding on to for this journey. Like the journey needs to be celebrated as well, the road from recovery and all the fear that gets held on to into competition. But whatever way we can slow down time in whatever increment, I think you can't ignore that you've just seen something that's just kind of sent you into kind of a dissociative state. You're not going to get the same athlete out of the gates.
And those have been some pretty gnarly horse jump accidents. Jarvis has been sharing
Are
with
you
us
trying to
during
trigger?
that.
How are you feeling right now, Dr. Pernilla? There's some.
And so, Pernilla,
Luckily, I'm by the door.
I have to say, too, that our friend Helen Pollock here has paid you a great compliment. Pernilla is truly incredible and totally right. She changed my world in the show ring.
Oh, yeah, she's pretty amazing.
Now, if that's not a testimonial, I don't know what is. That's incredible.
Well, she puts me on the spot, too, because I get to, work with her. And then when I have these moments, she's my right hand. And I get to share this. A lot of the trauma that happened with the accident, I got to process with her. But I didn't process with my trainer. And that's the difference. You don't share necessarily that conversation with your trainer. Your trainer's there to do business, get your horse performing, getting you communicating to your horse.
And they want you to block that out, right?
Essentially, yeah. Yeah. So when...
It's not a valuable mental skill to not be focused.
Right. So when my trainer was doing something else, I shared a little bit with Helen, and then,
So even just this terminology, show ring. So I'm getting the imagery of is this different than the 100 jumps that you talk about that you do? Is this different? It's more like the... for us novice.
Yeah. So a show ring, basically you sign up for your classes before you actually go to the show. And then at the show, they post your course. And whether you're doing dressage or hunter jumper, they have the course written out and you memorize the course. And you have to know not just the direction that you're going, but how many strides, so how many steps the horse needs to take between the jumps, what angle is the most strategic. And then for the jumper world, it's all based on time. So you're basically jumping these beautiful jumps, but your time. So you have to make it maybe under a minute or a minute and a half. And then if you have a clear round and you make it within a minute and a half, you get to do a jump off, which is maybe another course, but it's a lot smaller. It's 5 jumps versus 15.
Wow.
So have you ever showed at a competition and seen an obstacle? You were like, oh, we didn't prepare completely for that.
Yes, all the time. Because they're big and they're beautiful. And at home, we just have rails and, you come and the jumps are, look at the Grand Prix rings. You have Hermes who's designing jumps. You have Longines. You have, at the top level, you have sponsorships that are spending thousands of dollars on these jumps. Like butterflies coming off the side.
Wow.
So the pressure is high, and you have to understand too how equestrian sports differ, I think, from other sports is that a lot of this comes out of our pocket first. There's no sponsorship. There's no like you suddenly get all these points and you make the league. You're literally paying for your horse's care, yourself, the training, all on your own until you're literally just about to become an Olympian.
Wow.
So we have about 10 minutes left of the show. We're doing good. And one thing I want to get into.
We've traumatized Dr. Pernilla, but we're doing good.
Exactly.
We're doing good.
Maybe
we should use the vanilla ice.
But I did kind of want to bring up this one story that when I was looking into the whole equestrian sports.
Yes.
And I got a little ribbon earlier from ribbing like, poking, not ribbon like a blue ribbon. A little poking from Dr. Richard because, sometimes, Paralympics and wheelchair sports and all that come up, and I haven't been like the first to step up and represent my own wheelchair kind and stuff like that. But a story popped up of a Paralympic. Her name is Bettina Aysel. She's a German. And I shared the story with you guys, and Pernilla, you were already familiar with her and stuff like that. But here's a woman who was born with no arms.
Right.
And I mean, she has like no arms. Like there's some people with no arms that they have like kind of, I hope this doesn't sound crass, but like, the stubs where the arms are, they can kind of do. I mean, she has nothing, like shoulders, and she's an incredible equestrian. Now, when you talk about the relationship between the human person and the horse, to me, this has got to epitomize, not only the bravery and what she does, and it's incredible just how she could ride a horse, and she cleans it and saddles it and does everything with her feet. But talk about what that relationship must be like between her and her horse.
I mean, this story is truly, truly beautiful because this horse literally lowers its head so that she can put on the bridle and brush him. And it's not unheard of horses really like accommodating their riders and just learning to do it without much training. She rides, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, with part of the rein in one of her feet and then the other in her mouth, and she's doing this. I mean, dressage is not easy. It's very technical. Every moment is very technical. So it's just I've lost for words because it's honestly truly beautiful. And it's a cross, and that it's a cross. That's what it's not when. So I have a hard time with the term equine therapy or anything because really, horseback riding in of itself is therapeutic. I don't care who you are. I don't care you're an Olympian or you're the cowboy. It literally the movements and the energy that goes through your body is nothing like any other.
Thank you, Jarvis. I was forgetting to remind Pernilla to talk
sorry.
into her microphone. So he gave the really subtle microphone push hint there.
Yeah.
So yes, Pernilla. Remember, now that we have 6 minutes left to talk right into your microphone.
I will. I've been doing pretty good.
But you've been doing good. But anyway, that was an amazing story. If you guys want to look it up, it's Bettina Aysel, Eistel. It's a really inspiring story, Dr. Richard.
It's inspiring, and I'm glad. By no means, all ribbing aside, that, are we obligated to? I know some activists will say, you need to represent those like you or who've had a similar story, and by no means, does anyone have to do anything. There's no coercion here. But when we do see something moving, when we do see someone do something inspiring, and I just think of the whole intergenerational, trauma piece, the fact that, the family, this must have been difficult for the whole family. They knew, if you read the story further, that she was going to be born without arms, possibly as a side effect of the medications being given at the time. And to support that transition and I get to be a part of this with the Special Maggots, seeing people who have challenges but still be supported to go out and become Paralympians or Special Olympians. And it's phenomenal. It's inspiring, and I want to learn a little bit more of their courage and commitment.
So we have just about 4.5 minutes left of the show, And what I want to do now, so that we're not racing at the very end, is Pernilla, you've been such a great guest, so informative. I hope people will start looking you up, and especially those in the equestrian world. I think just like you did for Helen Pollock, you'll do wonders for them as well. But, you know, we like to motivate our audience, to inspire our audience. And one of the really, truly, truly inspirational aspects of who you are is the fact that, you know, you've always had this dream about horses. And, you know, you're just like, one day you're like, I'm going to buy a horse. I'm going to follow that dream. And in fact, I'm going to turn my career in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's not easy to do. So can you just speak on that a little bit? Not necessarily like about the equestrian world, but as an individual, how do you take that hard left turn and follow your dreams?
I mean, I just was reevaluating, and I was miserable, and I wasn't really happy. Not that I was miserable, but I wasn't happy. And the way I feel after I'm at the barn or on the horse is a feeling I don't have in any other purview of my life. So I kind of evaluated, do I continue doing these jobs that give me financial benefit, or do I take a moment and what is more important, my life or finances? And my dream is more important at the moment. And I do believe, and maybe this is hokey pokey, I do believe that what is it called? Not affluence, but abundance comes when you're really truly speaking to your heart. I'm not going to do great work when I'm working with people half burnt out and exhausted. So I want to do great work and follow my passion and give that energy to other people.
That's amazing. And Dr. Richard, I pose it to you as well. You probably see this with patients all the time. What would you do to, or say, to inspire someone who's got a dream that might seem really far away or hard to attain? But what advice do you give to like inspire them to, you know what, follow that dream? I mean, you look at you're like, I want to play basketball, you know, and you went for it. You went to Kansas City and tried out for the Maccabee team.
Actually, today is a very significant day. It's been 2 years since I've left the county. Today is officially the day of no return. I cannot go back to the county. So, you know, and, you know, that doesn't mean I haven't kicked and screamed, or just like Ken Ravisa said, that it still doesn't wake up at 5 a.m. and go, can I do this? Am I good enough? That there's still not this process every single day where you're like, doubt, you go through cycles of fear. As the challenges get bigger, the doubts become bigger and the tests become bigger to stay committed to this. But I think that I like Dr. Pernilla said, taking a moment, and in that space, what do you fill that space with when you take that moment? I've chosen to fill my space with, instead of people that are draining, you know, who are the people in the circle that you're including in? Are you looking for mentors every single day? I'm looking for inspiring people, and I'm trying to get closer to them, and I'm trying to get away from draining influences, and I'm trying to get around more things that give me more energy. So in a way, I think I'm becoming more selfish. I think I'm learning to read more things that make me happy. I'm trying to do more things that are uncomfortable but make me laugh, and connect to more people that are doing amazing things. And to keep asking that question. I think a quote was made this week, you know, your passion should be what you do while you're procrastinating. You know, there's just something to following that, or even continuing to ask yourself the question, what do you enjoy? What would you like to give, and who would you like to give it to? And trusting that. The power of your influence on humanity and what you can do. I think less and less are things being defined by a particular job description as limiting who you are. Who you are is limitless.
Wow, that's really incredible advice. And yeah, I'm inspired. I hope the audience is inspired by everything you just said and what Dr. Pernilla Nathan shared with us as far as inspiration and following your dreams and your passion. I want to thank everyone who has been watching and who contributed tonight. Jewel's been very active. Thank you, Jewel. And we have our next couple of shows coming up. Actually, we met Pernilla here during a seminar with Dr. Ken Ravisa, who is the Cubs psychology consultant. And Richard, you were on a journey recently to Cleveland. And who was that with?
Annual conference with Jack Lesack. former sports psychologist of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and as well as Charlie Marr, a sports psychology consultant for the Cleveland Indians, and got to take in 2 amazing games. Check out my Instagram and the photos and the journey. And it's been amazing, everybody I've met through there and the guests that are coming from, just inspiring people coming together.
Yeah, so our next show is July 24th, and the Director of Extended Day Treatment for the Village for Families and Children, Melissa Lambert, will be our guest. But we're going to get into a lot of, I think, performance and training with her, right, Richard? Melissa?
I believe so. She does strength training. She's also been a elite college soccer player and a marathon runner, and does training for youth athletes.
Amazing.
Baseball players.
And the show after that, we have Dr. Christina Rail, who you met there. Rail. She's a balanced mind psychologist and passionate about athletes and
hockey.
Performance optimization, whether it's on the ice or the field.
The real deal. Isn't that great? Her name is just, you can just keep saying
Okay,
it.
real. The real deal. Here I am fumbling with that.
She's the real deal.
So anyway, that's our next couple of shows. And then after that, like I said, we'll have Chris Stretch back. We're still going to have Dr. Ken Ravisa on the show. We have a lot of exciting things. We want to say hello to our friends at Distill It. Their show's tomorrow right here on UBN Radio at 3 p.m. They're going to have Johanna Elba, stylist to the athletes. So we're real proud of the Distill It. Their show is going terrific. And we're always, thank you for your kind words about us on your show. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. But once again, thank you, Pernilla Nathan, for being the guest on Richard Listens on Sports this week.
Thank you.
And really quickly, how can people reach you again?
Instagram, Pernilla Nathan.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
And check us out on Instagram too, and keep giving us your feedback. What do you want to hear from? What do you want to talk about?
Definitely. So we'll see you in 2 weeks on Monday, July 24th. Thanks for watching Richard Listens on Sports. We'll see you soon.